you. All right, they added that new. That's super annoying. All right, we are now recording. What's up, everybody? My name is Juwan Rohan, and this is the Misguided Podcast. We intend to guide you to a better future. I'm sitting here with KAYR, co-founder of KAYJAY Consulting, property management, and real estate investor. How you doing today, my brother?
I'm doing well. Mad excited to be on the platform. Can't wait till we get this party started.
I know, right, man? It's a beautiful day outside too. It's super sunny. The weather's been kind of weird though. It's like sunny one day and then windy, and like we have a lot of windstorms here in California right now. As you know, we're like obviously fires are crazy, but it's about to be fire season. So
the devil is busy, and global warming, it might be his nickname.
Yeah. Most definitely. But no, I appreciate you coming up here. We'll go ahead and start on your story. Let's go ahead and get started about where you're from.
So I grew up in Philadelphia, in a working class neighborhood. We moved around all the time. 6 siblings, single parent household. My mother was on welfare. We had food insecurity. We had housing insecurity. We had so many issues to deal with that I tell people, look, we moved so much, I feel as though I have a PhD in being a tenant. I remember vividly at the young age of probably like 6 or 5 or what have you, I remember very vividly, one time our house had burned down and an elementary teacher brought us KFC. And she brought my favorite, which is original KFC. So if you ever see me, make sure you have that. But she bought mashed potatoes and she bought mac and cheese. I was like, yo, you're killing me, because I love the coleslaw. But I remember that vividly because I could look upstairs, the whole 3rd floor was missing, and I could see the stars. And at that moment, I had a burning desire to achieve financial independence and also build a legacy for my family, so I never have to go do that again. And so I went to public school in Philadelphia, some of the bad schools there. I managed to do really well and got a full scholarship and went off to Bowdoin College and study history and English. And then I worked on Wall Street in finance, but I always knew I wanted to be an investor. And so I started to study the individual houses, rentals, and bought my first rental in 2009. And then I got up to about 2018, I got to 9 rentals. Then 2019, I reached 35 rentals. And then 2020, I hit 105. And so I bought 70 during the pandemic. I have my own property management business. And so I was able to come from nothing, a negative net worth, to now being well over worth $5 million. So it's been quite the journey. And that's a little bit of my background.
That is a journey, man. 70 properties in a pandemic when everyone is struggling. That's impressive. So congrats to that, man. And you just passed the 100 mark in 2020.
Yeah.
Nice. What's your next milestone, I guess? 100 is pretty big.
So for me, after I passed that 100 unit milestone, I said, how can I build my legacy? Because I'm not self-made, I'm community-made. Yeah. And so what I mean by that is the people around me, I want to make sure that they're being elevated because they all poured into me. So I started KAYJAY Consulting with my business partner, where he was initially one of my students, a private student, and then he became a debt investor. Then we decided to partner on 2 or 3 apartment buildings. And then we started KAYJAY Consulting, where we educate people on my philosophy on how to buy individual houses and also buy apartment buildings. And that's primarily driven through our website and also KAYJAY Consulting. So that's part of what I'm going in the future, educating people, but continue to invest in apartment buildings and large complexes going forward. So that's how I see myself moving forward in terms of what I like to do, transformational wealth. And I can get into that a little bit later, but that is what I'm focused on, my legacy, which is through transformational wealth and also educating people.
Nice. I love it. No, well said. Well said. It's like you answered this like 1,000 times already. We'll have to switch up the questions, make them a little harder. No, but I want to talk about your journey on Wall Street. That's super interesting. And you might be the first person I've interviewed that worked in finance on Wall Street. So what made you want to get into that at first, and how was it working there?
So I grew up in Philadelphia. And in our household, my mother was the only parent there. And I remember she would struggle with finances. And I also remember going to our local church, and we would always have to raise money. And so when local businesses were shut down, and they had really passionate people. All these people were very passionate. Yeah. But the thing that got to me is that they didn't know how to manage money. So when I was 14, I started reading books about financial management, about wealth management, about real estate. And so I realized that I was dirt poor. So I wanted to go off to college. And every summer I wanted to explore the finance food chain. So I did American Express, freshman summer, Prudential Securities, sales and trading, investment banking at Credit Suisse and the technology group. And then I went to Goldman Sachs. So I always knew I wanted to get into finance. And so I went to Wall Street pretty much so I can build. First, I went to college to get the intellectual capital. Then I went to Wall Street to get that financial capital because I needed money. And now I have also the social capital, the relationships, like my business partner and other people, so that I could be successful in real estate. And so when I was on Wall Street, there were only like about 5 or 6 African-Americans that were in the investment banking front office doing traditional mergers and acquisitions and things of that nature. And I was fortunate enough to be one of them. And so I learned the best practices and also how to work hard and how to big deals. I worked on $1 billion deals, $1 million deals, and it was a great learning opportunity. Then I went to go work for a hedge fund as well. So that opened my eyes a lot. At the hedge fund, I covered US home builders and UK home builders. And so I understand how to think about it as an investor from afar, passive investor. And then I also know how to think about it as a practitioner. So that's how my journey on Wall Street evolved from start to finish.
Yeah. That's really cool. Wow. So correct me if I'm wrong, but you didn't leave. You left Wall Street not too long ago, correct? Maybe like how many years ago?
I retired August 31st, 2020. And okay. And I hit my 105 unit mark on September 8th, 2020.
That's crazy. So you've been working, how long were you on Wall Street? How many years were you working?
So I graduated from college. So I went from 2005 and I worked my butt off and retired in 2020. So I took 2 years off to go to business school. I went to Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth.
Okay. So 13 years on Wall Street, and then like 2 years, I guess, like about 2 years into real estate, and you're already worth way more doing real estate in just 2 years than you were 13 years in finance.
But I did start, I bought my first rental unit in 2009.
Okay.
So I had the first one in 2009, then I got to 9 units by 2018. Okay. And then I got to 35 units in 2019. And then I got to 105 in 2020. So I took the first 9 years to build up the experience, the track record, and the relationships. So I would keep my day job to save all my money. And then I would keep my day job to save all my money from the real estate business for the first 9 years. And then I got enough money for the down payments to start buying apartment buildings in 2019 and 2020. So that was my strategy. Keep your head down, save your money, and save all the money from the refis, because I will fix these distressed properties up. Refi, get 80,000, 60,000, put that in a bank account, get the rental income, put that in a bank account, keep my regular job, live off that. Then you have enough money for these big buildings. If something costs $1 million, then you can put down $200,000 for the down payment. Yep. So that was my strategy.
I think the important thing to note is the time, because you said you bought your first one in 2009 and now it's 2021. So it took you years of preparation. Like you said, you were learning throughout the whole process. And most importantly, you were making connections. You know, you need to, when doing the burst, because you're kind of doing the burst strategy, right?
Oh, I did do that.
Yeah. So when doing the burst strategy and any other strategy, but it's super important to make sure you have your connections in orders. You know, you need a contractor, you need a really dope ass real estate agent, right? Who's finding you these properties that are under market. You need someone, and you need these people who are gonna like be your team, especially if you're investing out of state where you're not able to go to the property and see it visually every other day. So, yeah, man, that's crazy. That's a crazy journey. And congrats. Man. How was buying a property in 2009?
Well, actually, it was crazy as all hell, because my family said, what the hell? The world's coming to an end. You have the Great Recession, people lose their money, taking their own lives, and you out of everybody coming out here talking about you want to buy a property. It's because some of the very successful people, what they said, like Rockefeller and a number of other people have said, buy when there's blood in the street, even if it's your own blood. So what I said is, look, I'm young, I'm in my 20s, I got it. You don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great. So I said, I'm going to go get something. I had a foreclosed property, and I learned the whole process from A to Z for how do you find contractors, how you work with them. At the time, I was living in Boston, and it was quite a journey. What was so crazy is that a lot of people were trying to get out of real estate because they had these no doc loans. So you had a lot of people who didn't know how money management, didn't do any risk management. And so a lot of people were losing their houses, and a lot of people were looking to find places to rent because they couldn't afford to buy a house any longer. So therefore they had to trade down and become tenants. So it was fascinating to be able to do it in 2009, just to be at the front line of when the world's coming to an end. When others are super greedy, that's when you probably should think otherwise. And when they're not being greedy, that's when I decided to be greedy. And so from 2009, I didn't have enough money for down payment, so I only bought one. But I said, if this ever happens again, where the world is coming to an end like it did in 2020, I said, I'm going to back up the truck and I'm buying everything. Yeah. I'm taking everybody's babies, because I consider my house as babies. I'm coming to take everything. Yeah. And so that's why I bought 70 units, because I said, if you're ready, you don't have to get ready. So by that time, I had the 3 R's, which is track record, relationships, and reputation. And I also had the 3 C's, which is intellectual capital, which you get from coaches or you get from taking courses. And I had that financial capital, and I actually had that social capital. So I said, let me take my 3 R's and my 3 C's, and let's go buck wild. And so that's how I was able to benefit.
I like those 3 R's and 3 C's. I love that. Yeah, it's just crazy because like in 2008, 2009, obviously the worst housing market ever. But 2020, like the housing market like was pretty good, you know, like, so it was like, it's 2 different, I guess, recessions, right? But like 2008 was literally built off the housing market. That's why the whole world collapsed. 2020 was based off of a virus, but the housing market was still like crazy.
So what's interesting is that on the surface, the housing market was crazy. Yeah. But when you peel back the onion, a lot of people were able to keep their houses because the government put measures in place. The government said, people who have student loans, we're going to defer that. You don't even have to pay your student loans. So someone who had their own personal residence may have lost their house because they lost their job. And if they had to pay their student loans, they didn't have to do that. Some people actually were able to get in loan deferment programs where you actually pay later. The bank doesn't make you pay right now. So now that those things are starting to dry up, some of those people are going to have to face some type of hardship. What was really fascinating is that you're always going to have, it's just really natural, you're always going to have this panic moment where some people are going to say, let me get out on the top, or let me just get out of the business because there's too much stress. And so I went after those sellers who said, look, this is just crazy. I just want to retire. I'm an elderly person. I want to spend time with my loved ones. I no longer want to deal with the day-to-day. And so that opens up an opportunity for us, because some people are saying, oh, these tenants are not going to pay. They're in these programs where the government's paying for rent. Then we're going to have to go through evictions. So I came knocking on the door. I said, if you have an issue, don't call the Ghostbusters, call KAYJAY Consulting. And so that's how we stepped in and were able to take advantage of the weakness in the market.
Yeah, love it. And before we move on, I just want to point out that you're absolutely right on that the government was protecting everyone. But since I'm a realtor, so I know like the laws and everything, but June 30th of this year is when that COVID protection for renters is going to go away. So, you know, all throughout the year, they were protected. They couldn't get evicted because of COVID. That goes away June 30th. And I believe it's 25% of what they have to pay back on past due rent. So 25% is a shit lot, especially now. So a lot of people won't be able to pay that. So my predictions is that there's going to be a lot of more houses on the market going into late spring, early fall, maybe even winter, because obviously the eviction process takes a while. But right now inventory is like super low. I don't think there's going to be a real estate market crash. I just think there's going to be more inventory on the market so that the prices will be lower than they are today.
I agree. I agree. I think we're not going to have a great recession situation, but you are going to have more inventory than you have right now.
Facts. Just want to let all the renters know June 30th. That's what I tell all my people looking to buy a house right now, because they be so stressed out. They walk in, they're like, oh my God, the offers are due tomorrow. Like, I gotta put a down payment, blah, blah. I'm like, yo, chill. You're not in a rush. Like, like continue to rent. Like, but yeah, anyways, how were you first introduced into real estate? So you talked about it a little bit, but like, was there a book that just like made you like, I'm going from Wall Street to real estate? What made you put your foot in that door,
So for me, it was not necessarily a book. When I was growing up, I remember walking around in Philadelphia with my stepdad or what have you, or walking around with a loved one, and he would say, oh, this house is definitely going to be worth something one day. Yeah. And we would just imagine and dream about, look, if you were able to buy that, what would you do with it? So I think just being around young people who probably didn't, and family members, you probably didn't even buy a lot of properties. At the time, my stepdad didn't own a property. And it just made me dream and say, hey, look, someone's going to have to replace these people. So I would see like a bus driver. I would say someone's going to have to replace the bus driver. I would see a homeless person. Someone's going to have to replace the homeless person. I would see a landlord or a businessman and say someone would have to replace them. And I said, I want to replace the businessman and the landowner. I don't want to replace the drug dealer or replace the plumber. So you got to figure out where you fit in and decide who you want to replace. And so that's how my eyes start to open. Yeah. And I said, I'm going to go into real estate and also understand wealth and money management as a young person.
Absolutely. So just, were you taught generational wealth, how to manage money at a young age?
No. I was taught generational hell. Like if you want to go through hell, do what my family did. So I had a brother that went to prison for attempted murder 1 year younger than me. I had sisters who had children as teenagers. I had family members. We moved around all the time, was homeless a few times. So I was just taught generational hell. I was like, damn, I got to get out of hell. I said, I know if I can just get out of this, then we'll be able to elevate and change my game. And I can stop being this mode of like survival, where you're going left or right, you're just trying to survive. And I like to get into that mode where I say you're in the flow. So then things are like your J is all easy. You starting to know how to manage money. You're paying your bills. You're not stressed. It's just like you're in that flow. And so I had to teach myself about generational wealth, but primarily what I call transformational wealth. So generational wealth, I learned as I got older, which is like I buy something, leave it for one of my relatives. They get it in 30 or 40 years. Instead, what KAYJAY Consulting, what we talk about is generational wealth, which is like left to right and right to left. And what I mean by that is like, so my brother, I convinced him to get a real estate license. I do $1 million deal. He gets a 3% commission. He gets $30,000. He's able to go take that money and put a down payment on a house for for his 5 children in Abington. So now he created wealth. Not only that, he continues to work with me. He's able to gift his in-laws $8,000. Now they're moving out of an apartment and now they own a house. So now my family, I own real estate. Now my brother owns real estate. His in-laws own real estate. My aunt is helping out with cleaning. My 2 nephew and my niece, they're interns. So what you have there is we're creating transformational wealth. We're transforming the lives of everyone around me. So my business partner in 2018, he wasn't a millionaire, but now he's a millionaire. So now what we're doing is what I call transformational wealth. Everybody that's in my circle and in my community, we want to transform your lives today, not tomorrow.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. I think it's also a transformation of energy, right? And what I mean by that is obviously energy bounces off, right? You get negative energy, bounces off negative energy. And sometimes what I notice is when you're trying to build generational wealth and transfer your ideas, your wealth thinking onto others in the family, sometimes it's not seen or taken as well as you hope, right? Sometimes they're like in 2009, why are you buying a house right now? Yo, the world's about to end. Like, that like naive thinking, right? And it's negative energy. So, but if someone is accepting and like, oh yeah, you should buy a house. Like, how can I get in? How can I help you? Right. And that's just bouncing around your family. That speeds up, right? The transformation. And I just think that's super important to point out. It also has to be a transformation of energy as well as transformation of wealth. But yeah, I 100% agree that I think like right now, I think the youth and reaching out to the youth and making sure that we're relatable is super important. So I actually in 2020 during the pandemic, I wrote my first book and I just released it actually. Um,
Oh, nice.
it's called
Congrats.
Money Talks: The Beginner's Guide to Investing, and it's pretty much a conversation between two kids, and they just really talk about money and they talk
Cool.
about everything from 401ks to real estate to stocks to crypto to literally everything, and how to budget, manage money. And it's doing really well, man. It released and debuted as #1 on children's books on Amazon and new releases.
Wow.
So
That's
yeah,
cool.
just want to shout that out because for the audience, if you haven't taken a look, this is a way to transfer your energy and your wealth around your family. It's a great start. But yeah, I wanted to ask you the one place that you haven't but wish to invest in.
Well, actually, for me, I am agnostic to markets, so I don't necessarily care about what market it is. It's pretty much what the numbers tell
The
me.
numbers.
So what I tell people, look, what I try to do at KAYJAY Consulting is I'm trying to teach you how to be a skilled fisherman and also how to figure out where the fish are. So some people become rich because they just figure out where the fish are, they back the truck up, they just get rich, you're lucky. So if I can teach you how to look for the fish, you already know how to look. But if I make you a skilled fisherman, you can basically catch fish and become really well off or find properties in any market. So imagine if you're able to be a skilled fisherman and be able to detect good markets. So for me, I'm nimble and I'm flexible. I'm moving to where the puck is going. And so that's the way I think about the markets. But some people, if you really do like, you want to just have fun and stuff, you're like, hey, I'm really, really well off. I want to just buy a rental property in Hawaii. So I have reasons to go out there and take my family and get a write-off. Then you can start building out a platform or a footprint in certain markets that you really, really enjoy. But for me, I am always going to wherever I think the best opportunity is.
Yeah. And that's the thing about real estate is that there's so many ways to manage it and build wealth within it. You know, there's so many ways and so many exit strategies. But yeah, no, that's great. Do you have any overseas international properties? Or
I don't have any investments overseas.
will
But
you?
one of my students I'm coaching, he has 10 in Columbus, Ohio, and now he's building like I think a duplex in Ghana as a rental unit. So, but I'm open to thinking outside the box. I don't have any right now.
Okay, cool. Cool. Well, I want to go into the Hella Misguided segment. And this question is always the same throughout my audience. It's if you were to write a letter to your 18-year-old self, what would you tell yourself? Give me a summary.
The first thing I would tell myself, and I'm assuming that IG exists, I would say, 18-year-old self, you need to first thing you need to do is follow KAYJAY Consulting. That is the first thing I would do. Because to me, it's wow. You have a page that actually recommend all the books, KR and Joe's favorite books. So you know about investing, lifestyle, all those different things. And you get videos that will educate you on the key terms and captions that are really concrete. So that would be the first thing I tell myself. Because I would tell myself, intellectual capital is very, very important. Absolutely. Second thing I would do is definitely tell them, listen to podcasts like yours, which make you think out the box, because you don't always want to think in a straight line. I want you to look down the street and be able to figure out what's around the corner. So the first thing is the intellectual capital. Focus on that. The second thing I would tell you is now I want you to focus on focus on the financial capital. So therefore, I would tell my young self, make sure you have relationships with the local credit unions, the small banks and big banks, because then you start to understand what these lenders require, and also understand and probably pick up your book so that we know what you should do for your Roth 401k or your traditional IRA. So you know some measure of money management. So one will be focused on the intellectual part, then focus on the financial capital, and then continue to strengthen the social capital, where you focus on building those relationships that you can leverage, and you can use all three to make effective change in other people's lives.
Most definitely. Okay. That's a great answer. I want to hop back to the real estate because a lot of people are probably wondering how the hell you have 100 properties under your personal name. So can you go into detail on, do you split it up in LLCs? Is it all in your name?
That's a great question. So what I do and what we do at KAYJAY Consulting is we encourage you to first get the first 10 properties in your personal name. And the reason why is one, you're going to get a longer amortization, which means that your loan is going to be based on 30 years versus if you did an LLC, it'll be based on like 20 years. So one, you're going to have a longer amortization of the loan. The second thing is that your interest rate is going to be lower. So if you're doing your personal, you may get it for 3% versus 5% or 6% in the LLC. So one, amortization; two, because of the lower interest rate; and three, the other reason why you want to do it is because you're able to get lower terms in terms of the insurance. When you go get insurance and things of that nature, actually the premium will be cheaper in your personal name. The fourth thing is that overall, actually, when you buy that first property, and if you live in it, you may actually get into a tax exempt program, or you may get into one of these homestead programs where your property taxes are lower because you live in the unit. So the first thing you should do, the first 9, in which I did, is I put in my personal name, and you get an umbrella insurance to protect you in addition to the regular insurance. So you're going to get higher cash flows when you first start off, and the requirements for down payments are lower when you put in your personal name. So the first 2009, I had 1 in my name, and then 2018, I had 9 units in my name. And then when I start buying apartment buildings, that's when I open up my LLC and I put it into my LLC's name. And so that was my journey, pretty much saving the cash flows from the individual houses and also saving the money from the refis. So I will buy a property, say for $22,000, put $17,000 into it to rehab it and fix it. So I'm all in at about like $39,000. That house will then get appraised. I go get it valued and appraised. It'll come out to be like $115,000. In simple math, you walk away with like $80,000 in cash from the refi. And so after that, I get that money, I could put that money towards a down payment. I bought like, say, a triplex, and it cost me $180,000 or what have you. To make it easy, $200,000. You multiply that by, let's say, to make simple math, 30%, you're going to get $60,000. You got the $60,000 down payment from the money that you got from when you did the refi on the individual house. And you keep doing that over and over. That's how you're able to scale up and go to apartment building. So then I bought like a 5 unit for $325,000. So imagine if you put 20% down and say that was just $300,000, or you got to come up with the $60,000 for that building. Then you buy something else. So that was my process. Fix the old properties, refi them, rent them out, and put the money aside. And then you're able to build up your portfolio. And then later, once you're really successful, people will come banging on your door and say, can we partner with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's also much easier to have it in your personal name and transfer it to an LLC as opposed to buying an LLC straight off the bat. So that's also something.
You avoid those fees too. With the LLC, you have those annual fees. So it's so many different things, so beneficial.
California is $800 annual fee. It's the most expensive ever.
And then the people want to be wilding out, talking about they're gonna open up like 10 or 15 LLCs. Yeah. They just crazy.
So I was gonna ask you that. So a lot. Oh my God. So Clubhouse. You got all these people. Man, you need an LLC for each house you own, a different one, because it protects the liability. If someone falls, they can sue you for your whole empire. Like blah blah blah. You know how expensive and time consuming each LLC for each house, especially if you have 100. Yeah. Like that's ridiculous. So how are you splitting it up? Like, is it like 20, 25, 30? Like,
so what I do is I still have the 9 houses in my individual name. I still have that in my individual name. Okay. And then what I would do with an LLC, so like my 24 unit is in one LLC.
Yep.
And then I have 21 other units in one LLC. And then I have 20 units in another LLC.
There you go.
So I definitely don't think you need to be having 100 different LLCs. The fees and the litigation is just too much.
It's too much. It's too much. Your tax CPA will hate you.
It doesn't serve you any purpose. That's why you get the umbrella insurance over your regular insurance in your individual housing.
Can you talk about that? I actually never heard about that before, and I don't think the audience has heard about it.
So like if you do like say you bought a property for $20,000, you just paid a regular insurance, which probably the premium's like $400 a year or $500 a year. That will give you the insurance to replace the property, and probably if you lose rent or something like that, say the property is worth 100, the insurance will give you you get the insurance at 100,000. That's just the coverage you have for the property. And in addition to that, you can go out and get an umbrella, which is like, when you go outside, when you leave the house, you may have on a raincoat because you know it's going to rain. So that's the first layer of protection. Your body is your house. You have your raincoat on. And instead of just going out with a raincoat, I tell you go get an umbrella, and the umbrella will protect you as well. So that makes sure the water doesn't hit you. So if someone decides to sue you, we have an additional coverage on top. So we have this individual house, $100,000 coverage, but we have a $2 million coverage on top
to protect you. Yeah.
To protect you in case someone decided to be greedy. And so that's the way you should think about it. So if you have like two houses and you have $200,000 in regular coverage, you can have the umbrella, which could be $1 million or 500,000. So actually you have 700,000 protecting these two properties.
Is it expensive, the monthly premium?
No, it's not expensive. It's only like a few dollars. It's not
shit. You got to do it then. You got to do it.
You got to do it. It's just a few dollars.
For sure. What's the one mistake you made early on? The purpose of this podcast is to guide people.
I think that I've been very fortunate. And we all make mistakes, but I think the one thing that was hilarious, I would say necessarily, is that sometimes you love your family. All your family do not know what they're doing. So I lived in Boston. So my dad will come by my rental and have the contractors working and everything. And he sometimes will come and do his own little damn thing. He'll just go into the bathroom and he's scraping stuff and painting stuff. My contractor said, "What the hell? You can't be having him coming up here changing stuff." So sometimes you got to be careful about just letting your family get all involved because they're going in a different direction. I was like, "Yo, you can't be coming up and you just related to the boss. You ain't the boss." I had to pay back all the money to fix everything he did.
That's hilarious. Like you could just imagine like the old school pops mentality. Like, man, we could do this for way cheaper. Like, I got this.
Yes.
That's
so y'all messing up y'all messing up all the good things about the bathroom. I said, no, they're doing what I told them to do. Go to the crib.
That's hilarious. Cool. Well, what made you expand your journey to consulting and mentorship? I mean, your co-founder, he was your mentor. Your mentee at first. So like, what made you, want to relate to the people in a different way as opposed to just posting, I do real estate?
That's a great question. So actually, it was pretty wild because Joe's like one of my number one students. He's a beast and hard worker, very, very smart. And I will work with people one-on-one and just do like private consultation or charge a fee or something like that. And he said, "KR, I know you're super busy, you have multiple businesses, but I think we should probably start KAYJAY Consulting and formalize and have a partnership." And I told him, I said, "Okay, we'll figure this out. I don't mind splitting the economics, but I can't do the day-to-day. If you're gonna drive this baby, you gotta really drive it. Don't just show me a beautiful baby. You gotta be able to." It's like if your girl would have you talking about, "Yo, we should have a child." Like, yo, make sure you hold in the bargain. Don't be coming to me talking about, "I ain't got time for no damn pretty baby. I need someone to be the baby." And so Joe was like, "Look, everything you taught me, I went from 0 units in 2018 to 60 units in 2020. Other people need to be educated." And so I was like, "All right, let's come up with KAYJAY Consulting so that we can educate people, because there's a lot of miseducation out there. Like you were saying, telling people get 1,000 LLCs, a lot of miseducation, telling people go get $1 million worth of business credit when you don't even know how to tie your shoestrings properly." So I wanted to build out a legacy and a movement where we educate people and we make the course affordable. And so that that, look, this is not rocket science. I'm not doing surgery. I'm just trying to teach you the best practices so that you can go out there and build a foundation for you and your family. So it was all about that. So we decided to figure out a way, how can we educate people on real estate and do consultations if they have questions, so that a lot of people are not misguided, especially people that look like me. So that was part.
Well said. Thank you for throwing that misguided in there. That's amazing. But no, so explain like, okay, so what is the consulting? I've seen multiple ways of you mentioned the course, right? So they sign up. How much is your course?
My course is $349.
They sign up $349 a year,
One
right?
time,
Oh, one
one
time.
time fee.
Okay.
349, no more, no less. You will spend 4 hours with you, and we will teach you how I analyze markets and individual deals, give you the Excel templates, you punch the numbers in. The other thing is we're actually going to give you the war stories and success stories, basically everything I have done and Joe have done to be this successful. And then I don't believe in one night stands, and I don't believe in charging you again. So your 349 will entitle you to access to my team and also me, but we'll do a check-in for the next 12 months, once a month, no additional charge. Because I'm not doing this to get rich off of you. I'm doing this to build up the community and the movement. So that's the difference between our course.
What really stands out to me about that is the check-in. I think that's super important. Instead of just giving them and say, hey, go ride this bike. You watched a YouTube video on how to do it. Go. Like, you're checking in, you're making sure they're okay. And if they're struggling, they can come to you and have access to your team. I think that's super, super important.
And make sure you don't embarrass me. Most important.
Right. Because the students, they are your name, KAYJay Consulting. So that's good. So it's kind of a mixture of kind of live in person or live virtual coaching, but also pre-recorded, war stories and success stories. Or
we'll walk you through the success stories and do a case study with you. Like we'll go to the internet while we're on Zoom, walk you through all the things we would do to analyze markets around the country. I have students that invest in Columbus, Ohio, and Maine, and Georgia, and Massachusetts, all over. So we walk you through places. It's like real live, concrete education opportunity for you to learn, and then continue to have that relationship throughout the next 12 months. So to make sure that you're implementing stuff. And if you're nervous, you don't have to pay an extra additional cost just to get that consultation.
Yep. Most definitely. Okay, cool. Well said. What's financial freedom to you? What's that look like in your eyes? Is there a number or what is it?
So for me, I've already achieved the financial freedom and I'm blessed. I'm excited about that. Every day I wake up, sometimes I work out for 2 hours a day. I do some stretching. I do some splits, some cartwheels, because I went from being dirt poor to being really well off. So the financial freedom is having the opportunity to do what you want to do every day. If you want to spend more time doing making money because you want to do consultation calls all day, then do so. Not me. I like to be able to have the flexibility to put other people, they can leverage my brand so they make more money. So like, I love the fact that I'm able to help like my aunt with the cleaning business, or my brother as a realtor or property manager, or my stepmom, or my niece and my nephew as interns, or my business partner having a vision. He still has his 9-to-5, but he thinks that these will be good businesses that will put him in a position to be financially free. So I'm more focused on that transformational wealth now. Now that I already have my financial independence, and I also have a substantial amount of wealth. Now it's how do I educate people, inspire people, and elevate the lives of people around me.
Most definitely. I like that. Well, damn. Yeah. Every time I ask this question, I get like time always pops up, like having the time to do whatever I want when I want. And I think that's super important. Because on the surface or on TikTok or on Clubhouse, a lot of people promote financial freedom as a number, right? A number to get to. It used to be back in the day. It's like, man, when I get $1 million, I'm out of here. I'm out of the hood. You feel me? Like $1 million was just like the thing to get to. Now $1 million is like $1. Like, you know what I mean? So the number is always changing. That's why financial freedom is not just one definition. It's more based on time and and it's based on your characteristics of the individual. And so well said. Thank you for answering that. Cool. Well, I appreciate you coming up here. The way we like to wrap up the episode is with a segment called Guided Conclusions, where I ask you just a random question that we haven't talked about previous to this. It can be funny, serious, any type. Today's question is, what is your purpose in doing all of this?
So I can't stress this enough. When I worked on Wall Street, I wasn't chasing a position. I was more interested in my purpose. So I wanted to live a purpose-driven life. And for me, that means carrying my family and my community and my friends and people I'm interested on my shoulders, because I'm not self-made, I'm community-made. People poured into me. They may not have money, but they love me, they care about me, they educate me, they help me become who I am today. And so that is my purpose, to create transformational wealth for all my students, all my friends, all my loved ones. I want us to change the way we look at the world and the way we do business. And that's primarily the number one thing I'm focused on at KAYJAY Consulting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, cool. Well, hey, KR, man, I appreciate you dropping in on this Zoom. I wish it was an in-person, but I'm sure we'll meet someday later. Go ahead and drop all your social media where they can find you, your website.
Perfect. So the number one place, I just tell people, look, come to KAYJAY Consulting, KAYJAY Consulting, KAYJAY Consulting, our IG page. If you click the link on our bio, you can subscribe to our emails, where we're going to tell you all the stuff we're doing. We're rehabbing these apartment buildings, reducing expenses, raising rents. So you'll get exposed to that. You'll get updates on other things we're doing. On our page, we do motivational Mondays. We have Tuesday workout tips on Wednesdays. We do financial literacy on Friday. So we just trying to bring the knowledge. So I hope you guys check us out at KAYJAY Consulting, our IG page, and click on the link and become one.
Do you have a YouTube?
We don't have YouTube. People keep asking, yo, where's the YouTube?
Your personality would be perfect for YouTube and TikTok. You need a TikTok, but you have like a on-camera personality, and you need to hop on that as soon as possible.
Oh, all right. I'm gonna have to take that. I love the compliment. Definitely would love to catch up with you if you ever in New York. I'm in Manhattan right now, but I'm sure I'm gonna check out the West Coast.
I got. That's where my family's from. My whole dad's side. I got hella family in New York.
Yeah. So this is fun. To me, I'm doing this because I just want to give back, build a legacy, have fun. It's a great thing to do.
Yeah, man. You're doing this because you love to help, and like, you know, I didn't have to like do too much to get you on here. I asked and you responded right away, and you were like, hell yeah. You know, some people are.
Think about it, right? People like us, you want to inspire people, anybody, regardless of your class or race or ethnicity or sexuality. I don't give a damn. If you're a good person, we share the same values. That's what matters. No one has a monopoly on overcoming obstacles. We all face them. So let's just come together. So as I remember in 2009 being happy when I was getting like, if you guys think everybody get $1,000 a month in rent, but that's that new game. Back in the day, you're happy to get 700, 800. So you'd be happy with 6,000, 7,000 in a whole year in 2009. And then in 2018, I was working and I made 85,000 a year in rental income. I said, I'm balling. But now I make close to 100 grand a month in rental income. So the game can change. So I think what we need is people like us that's educating and being open and being humble. That's how we're going to change the world.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, hey, I appreciate you, KR. Thank you for coming. And you guys heard it here. Make sure you go follow, subscribe to this channel, and please rate on Apple Podcasts and YouTube. Really appreciate you guys tuning in, and hope to hear from you soon. You heard it here. This is the Misguided Podcast, where we intend to guide you to a better future. My name is Juwan. Again, go follow KR. All right, y'all.